This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of CWK Live. We've got a special show for you this week. It is now on Monday, just for this week. Well, you know what? Let me introduce myself. I'm Dan Zayer, delighted to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Yes, normally we have this show on Tuesdays, but this week something came up that's a really fun thing for my family and the school, and we're going to take a part of that, so we're going to have the show tonight on Monday, and it is a terrific one, absolutely. Here we go. Let's bring in our friends. This is the way. It's CWK Day. Minta, thank you so much, and thank you to everybody for your patience and for pivoting and joining me. That means a lot to me. I thought, oh no, what if nobody shows up? I'll just babble, which is kind of what I do all the time anyway, but it's nice to have someone, talking back with you, so I very much appreciate you doing that. Mary is here. Happy Monday. We haven't said that for a hot minute. I hope everyone had a great weekend. We did, Mary. I hope you did as well. Mason won his soccer tournament, which was fun, so I'll give him an applause for that. David's here. Hello, CWK family. Hello, David. Great to see you. Great to see you here. Robert's here. Says, happy Monday, watching Danzy while enjoying an ice-cold blurg fire. Life doesn't get much better than this. Well, that sounds awesome, Robert, and it is great to see you back on the show. Terry, hello to you. We've got several members of the CWK community who joined me last week on Coffee with Kenobi, which was terrific. Terry and David and Mary so far who are with us now. And Jason is back. Hello, Jason. He says, nice to be back after a couple of weeks off. Jason, we missed you, pal. It is great to see you on the show. Mary says, I saw the pic with the trophy. It was almost as big as him. Congrats to Mason and his team. Thank you. Yeah, it was exciting. That was a massive, massive trophy for sure. So today on the show, we are doing something really fun that I want to do for a long time. We're going to go through the Mortis trilogy. The first episode is called Overlords. So we're going to go through your top 5 moments from Star Wars: The Clone Wars Overlords. We've got some Star Wars news and merchandise updates, including a brand new program for the holiday season. And, of course, your comments and questions. So let us take a look at what is brewing in the world of Star Wars this week. Okay, so I think I overestimated the size of that graphic on left, so I apologize, but Lucasfilm announced that we have got Gift the Galaxy, which is a brand new thing. It's going to go on for 10 weeks. It's going to be showing brand new Star Wars holiday merchandise. It will certainly coincide with some of the more recent additions to the Star Wars fandom, but really, really fun stuff for sure. And there's the image. It's got Vader and Ahsoka. Speaking of fun things, tomorrow the contest ends. I've got over, I think, 1,000 entries to win the Star Wars Ahsoka Chatterback Chopper. Tomorrow is the last day to win this baby. Chopper, of course, is awesome and a terrific character in the Star Wars community. If anybody could tell me to get a character tattoo, it would be Chopper. But as much detail and colors in this thing, it would probably be really painful. But nevertheless, that's an old classic joke for CWK. But again, Chatterback Chopper right here in the box. Can be mailing it out to you. Now, how do you win this thing? You go to coffeewithkenobi.com. You can see the banner, or you can certainly click the web post about it. But you can enter by following or going to our YouTube channel every day and going to coffeewithkenobi.com. Thank you to all of you who have done so far. So good. All right, so there's really not a ton of news. There's not many announcements going on right now, but we do have a lot of merchandise. So we're going to pivot over to merchandise. We have got a brand new coffee. Whoops, let's bring that back. This is Up to Snow Good from Joffrey's Coffee. And it's Star Wars. It's Christmas. It's Grogu. It's coffee. What more could you possibly need? What more could you possibly need? A lot of people are asking me about Thomas Coffee and if we're still working them. We're actually not. that partnership ran its course, and we had a great time with them. But now we've moved on to other things like Up to Snow Good from Joffrey's Coffee. So super cute. You can get that on Joffrey's Coffee's website, and I'll have a place on the website later. There's a lot of new stuff coming out. This is simply known as the Hotel Collection. These come out November 1st, and I took a couple of images that are more out there, but this is a dark side candle. It comes with that little, I don't know what that bag is made out of, but it's very, very cool looking. I cannot wait to get my hands on these and take a whiff. Can't wait to smell them. I'm a big fan of candles. They actually add a lot of the ambiance in the studio and here in our home, and that's the first one. That there's not much we know about them, but we have a couple of images. There's also, this is a car diffuser, but it is a light side one. I'm assuming there's a dark side one as well, but there is an image of that. The packaging is gorgeous on these things, and I'm sure they're amazing. Mita says, just take my money. Coffee keeps me alive. Well, Mita, then that is great, and I would highly suggest that you check out the Joffrey's. It looks like good stuff. Now, this is the Meta Backpack. The Child is what it is called. The company is from Petunia Pickle Bottom. I've never heard of that company, but everything I saw online looks like they've got some really high quality things, and it's the Child, and it's a really nice backpack, and I wanted to share that here because I thought people would really enjoy that. Back to Heroes and Villains. They announced a brand new Mudhorn collection, Mudhorn the Mandalorian collection this week. And I am apparently a massive sucker for cool Star Wars backpacks. And I don't think you'll find better backpacks than heroesvillains.com. But this is the Mudhorn backpack. It's got so many extra features and compartments. It's very, very high quality. I'm still using my, well, not still, I just only had it for a month. But I use my Bad Batch one, and I absolutely love it. I get compliments on it all the time. But remember, and I can't emphasize this enough, when you're ordering from Heroes and Villains, use the code COFFEE and you get 20% off your order. I mean, that's awesome. And that's better than most discounts you'll see out there. So use the code COFFEE for 20% off your order on Heroes and Villains. They also have a Mudhorn beanie. There's hats and hoodies and t-shirts too. I tried to pick out a couple of items here. But this is the Mudhorn beanie. I like that it's a very fall color with the brown. And you got the Mudhorn there, which is a great logo. Very much reminds me of The Mandalorian. So that's it. There's not a ton of merchandise or news this week. But what we do have is, of course, our top 5. So this week, we are going to again look at Star Wars, The Clone Wars, Overlords. I'm very excited about this. This is the first part of the Mortis trilogy. And I have not looked at the Mortis trilogy, honestly. Like, I have not watched it since it first aired on the Cartoon Network, and it's been a while. It has been a while. These keep popping up from last week for some reason. So this was the best time to do it. Mostly, the thing that inspired it to me the most was the ending of Ahsoka and Balin, and him standing on that precipice with it appeared to be massive stone columns or statues or things built into the mountains of the Mortis gods. And I thought, let's talk about this. So not only are we going to talk about it tonight on CWK Live, but later this week on the Coffee with Kenobi podcast, we're going to break it down in much more detail as well. Terry says, I didn't have enough time to get a top 5 together, but I'll listen to everyone else's tonight. No problem, Terry. It was kind of last minute to switch over, so I appreciate you following me over here too. And by the way, Terry is on Star Wars Reactions this week, or last week, in addition to also being on Coffee with Kenobi. There's a lot of great Terry King content out there, and he does a terrific job on both shows. Let's go ahead and jump into number 5. Number 5 for me, I put the balance test. This is at the end of the episode. Anakin is told he must save either Ahsoka or Obi-Wan. He has to choose, and there's a light side and a dark side, and he has to go through this exercise that showcases his Force abilities, and it's really beautiful. The animation is gorgeous. The music is great. The emotional heft and the narrative structure of it is great too, but it's really terrific, and that's just my number 5. This episode is absolutely spectacular. I mean, it is dynamite. That's not really profound. But when you watch it again, especially after the last couple of years of Star Wars, and what we know about Star Wars, it is terrific stuff. I mean, terrific. Mary says, I watched it before Ahsoka started. Great to go back and watch again with a lot more insight. Exactly. There's really so much more to enjoy. Robert's number 5 is a zoom into the monastery to Anakin's climbing the steps. I liked the cinematography on that too, Robert. That was really, really well done. So I'm glad you brought it up. David's 5 is getting Pernilla August back to voice Shmi, and Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn. Those were big gets. Huge. Huge. And this was one of the first times to use major talent from the movies in Clone Wars. Number 5, I mean, they're all major talents, but I mean from the movies. You understand what I mean. Number 5 for Jason. They're all quotes from the episode that struck me as significant in light of the Ahsoka series. Oh, I like this. So Jason's number 5 is, we're the ones who guard the power. We are the middle, the beginning, and the end, daughter. Though it sounds like something Bendu would say. I thought about the Bendu a lot when I was noticing the father, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later. Number 5 for me, to the planet they're on has intense vibes involving the Force. Kind of reminds me of the living planet from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that, Minta. Very good. Mary's 5, Obi-Wan says, we'll be fine as long as we stay together. We all know that is the wrong thing to say with our group. Yes, or in Scream, or in Scooby-Doo, or in Dungeons & Dragons when you're playing everything. Yes, and I laughed too when I heard that. And I'm sure that was playfully inserted by, I think Christine Taylor wrote this episode. And it's quite poignant. And we know what that entails. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, I put Qui-Gon's wisdom. It was great, as David mentioned, to have him back, to have Liam Neeson / Qui-Gon Jinn back in the episode. And I didn't put the quotes here that he mentioned, but him talking about the importance of Anakin as a chosen one, and explain to Obi-Wan that he is there because Obi-Wan is there. And it's a little vague, but also not vague. But again, it's tricky because sometimes I think the biggest challenge to analysis, and I'm sure I'll talk about this a lot more on the show this week, is that we have a habit of taking the lens of today land and putting it on something that was made, 10 plus years ago. And it doesn't quite fit. What does fit is Dave and the creators who helped work on these things, remembering them and making the new stuff. And they make it all fit together. I think that's what's going on here. That's just my personal theory. Number 4 for David, visions that Obi-Wan and Ahsoka have in a cave of all settings. Very Star Wars appropriate. Yes, caves are extremely important mythological archetypes. First year. Number 4 for Robert, Pernilla August and Liam Neeson's voicing their characters. I love it when actors are willing to come back for what some might consider a lesser medium, even though it's really not. I agree, Robert, and I completely support that and love that too. And I think Star Wars does a really good job of using the talent in many, many different mediums in Star Wars, which is terrific. Speaking of, Mary says number 4 is Sam Witwer as the Son. He is fantastic in every voiceover he does. That guy, he is such a powerhouse, isn't he? Number 4 for Jason. My children and I can manipulate the Force like no other. Therefore, it was necessary to withdraw from the temporal world and live here as anchorites. And that's the father. And Jason, as you may remember, he's using all quotes. And that is a great one that I actually am using for something for the show. Minta's number 4, the visions. Each character had their own visions that involved either the past or the future. Kenobi sees Qui-Gon as he warns him that the planet could bring out the worst or best in Anakin. Shmi was telling Anakin to let go of his pain and guilt. And Ahsoka's future self warned her that if she remained his apprentice, she would fall to the dark side. And that, Minta, really struck me, considering what we're led to believe Ahsoka struggles with in the series, the Disney Plus series. So it's interesting to me that you pointed that out. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 is the Sun's saber moment. There's this really, really super cool moment when the Sun talks to Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, and they pull their sabers out on him, and they're basically, it's not, I don't know, it's insulting, but to them it's like a toy. And he just kind of goes like, he makes a motion which you didn't even have to do, and both of their sabers just slide back into their lightsaber hilts themselves, almost like they hit rewind, like an old classic special effects thing. And there's just so much power, and there's not even arrogance. It's just sort of like matter of factness from the son, and it just shows you how dangerous and powerful he is. And it's a really great character moment. The sound is cool. It's just really good. Mary says, ditto to Minta's 4. There's no way to say it any better. I agree. Minta was a rock star as always. Robert's number 3, Sam Witwer's portrayal of the son. And I was thinking when I watched this today, we need figures, like retro figures of these guys. They're so cool. David's 3, the father and the son turning off lightsaber. With the wave of a hand, really showing us how powerful these overlords are. Yes, David. Oh, I'm honored that I thought the same thing as you did. That's pretty fun. Jason's 3, the next quote, you have a very simple view of the universe. I'm neither Sith nor Jedi. I am much more. The father. This is a really deep episode, and Jason is completely nailing it with these quotes. Minta's 3, the way the son used the Force to deactivate the sabers. Hey. Was what the French moment, looking back, Ahsoka did the same thing in Rebels when fighting the Inquisitors. That's right. She did, didn't she? And I thought about that. The son does it with even more like forcefulness and just like immediacy. But yeah, that's a good connection. I when I was watching it, I thought, have I seen this before? I don't know. It's just so much more. I don't know. I can't find the words. It's like efficient, powerful, frightening. It's important. It's really, really fascinating stuff. Number 2. Let's go to number 2. Are you a Sith? This is the moment that was just mentioned, where Obi-Wan asks if the son is a Sith, and he laughs. To me, that's pretty important. I think that shows that the Sith and the Jedi are much more like of a man-made construct, perhaps, as opposed to the Force just being something bigger than those things. I don't know, that's probably too simplistic, and I need to think about that a little bit more. But I like the fact that he's basically saying, to me, the Sith don't have the monopoly on the dark side. Just like the Jedi don't have the monopoly on the light side. That is a part of certain people who follow it a certain way. And I think that's interesting. Really interesting. Number 2 for Robert, Anakin's unusual act of humility by sitting before the father. Ooh, interesting perspective. I haven't thought of it that way, Robert. Minta's 2, Anakin being able to use the Force to rein in the children shows how powerful he truly can be, but at what cost? Right, and that's the big question, isn't it, Minta? That is exactly it, and it'll be fun to watch it explored. And seriously, watching this was almost like watching it for the first time, almost, to me. I remember the main ideas, but it's pretty great. Number 2 for David, the expansion of the Star Wars mythology via Mortis, the father, son, daughter, and balance of the Force. I thought about that a lot. The balance of the Force thing is, I think, a crucial part of this. Number 2 for Mary, the opening act. Balance is found in the one who faces his guilt. Anakin has so much guilt he is living with. And they do a nice job with the opening and with Shmi, and just the emphasis of how he feels the father talking to Anakin about it as well. Excuse me. Jason's 2. It is time to face your guilt and know the truth, which is the father. Important for Anakin in this episode, and important for Ahsoka in episode 5 of her series. It's a great connection, Jason. Really great connection. I'm loving your profile pictures. It's a beautiful shot of nature and fall. Very cool. All right, let's do it. Let's go to number 1 from Overlords. Number 1 for me, I have, similar to what Mary just talked about, this is the opening sequence, the little moral or lesson that's presented at the beginning. Balance is found in the one who faces his guilt. Interesting. Right? Balance of the Force can mean a lot of different things. I wrote about this in a Star Wars book. Thought about this a lot. We've talked about this a lot. I think there was even an episode, what does balance in the Force mean? But according to the opening of this episode, it's found in the one who faces his guilt. So if you put that at peace, you can be at peace. And then you're balanced and you're more poised, you're more zen-like. Maybe. It's an interesting starting point, I think. But it's clearly the main concept of this particular episode. Number 1 for me, the symbolism of the father, son, and daughter is unique. All three of them have a place in balancing the force, and if one outweighs the other, chaos would ensue, and it would cause the universe to collapse within itself. Boy, oh boy, you are all helping me think of so many things I want to bring up on the main Coffee with Kenobi this week, the main podcast. The non-live show is what I mean. Robertson 1, floating rocks. A planet uses the force to make rocks float. Oh, Robert, you're onto something pretty insightful, because rocks are a powerful motif throughout Star Wars. And this planet, the rocks float on their own, or the force uses them to. Wow. Very good, Robert. I like that. Mary's number 1, Anakin's control, the daughter and the son. That entire scene is just beautifully and strikingly animated. Yes, it is. It's really phenomenal. Number 1 for Jason, I am your future, your potential. There is a wildness to you, young one, seeds of the dark side planted by your master. There are many contradictions in you, which is the future Ahsoka, another important touch point for Ahsoka in episode 5. Yeah, it is. And that is important, Jason. I really, again, appreciate you writing all of these down. The challenge here for me is, how do we see that played out? And I obviously just need to rewatch key episodes of the Clone Wars again, because Ahsoka's always struck me as someone who's got it together. But maybe it's because she works hard at it, right? It doesn't, just because she makes it look easy doesn't mean that it's easy. Because that's an important quote. I'm glad you brought it up, Jason. David says this episode reinforcing and confirming that Anakin is a chosen one. No more arguments about the issue, right? Well, to me, I agree with you, David. And Dave and George have said it's Anakin. Anakin is a chosen one. It is not Luke Skywalker, just because Obi-Wan thinks it. Maybe it's because he wants it to, because he saw Anakin's destruction and demise in Revenge of the Sith, but it is Anakin. It is not Luke. And I think that's confirmed. So if someone is arguing about that, and that's fine, it might be a moot point, because Lucasfilm has said that no, Anakin is the chosen one. So, and I remember hearing Dave say that. So I think you can put that one to rest. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. I mean, this is such a dynamite episode. I remember thinking, well, the first one's okay, but the second one's really, really good, and the third one's good, but it's dark. I remember thinking that about these three. But then I watched Overlords again, first time since it aired, and I thought, my goodness, this is serious, heavy, incredible stuff. So, wow. So how do you top it? Well, you don't top it, but you go to the next one. The next one is Altar of Mortis. That is the next episode of this 3-part arc from Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 3. So be sure to watch Altar of Mortis and get your top 5 ready for next week. And I look forward to talking about that with all of you, because it is dynamite stuff. Now, let's go into Ask Dan Z. David says, really glad you wanted to cover these episodes so good. Thanks, man. I'm really glad that you watched it and joined us for the live show tonight. I am really blown away by Mortis and how good it is. And there's so much here. I mean, now that we've started to tap into it a little bit, perhaps, with Ahsoka, there's a lot of potential. Mary says also, and echoing these sentiments, I'm so glad we are revisiting this archive too. It came out way before Coffee with Kenobi was a thing. I don't even think I knew Corey, actually, when I saw these for the first time when it first aired. And now that we're looking at it through the Coffee with Kenobi lens, and then we are learning from each other, that is what it is all about. That is what it is absolutely all about. Robert says, sorry if I missed it somewhere, but is there a connection between the Mortis gods and the Bendu? They both indicate they're neither Sith nor Jedi. So there's never been a 1-1 connection as far as like a line actually drawn between the Mortis gods and the Bendu. But the Bendu does talk a lot about, there's more to the Force than just the Jedi. And I believe that is talked about in The Last Jedi by Luke as well. But as far as is the Bendu a part of the Mortis gods, it's never been said either way. I thought about the balance aspect and how the Bendu is in the middle, but I don't think it's necessarily a part of it. That's just my opinion based on the research and other things, just sort of as we're watching it. But it's hard not to at least see some sort of a correlation there. You know what I mean? Mita says, would you consider doing a live stream event of the Clone Wars arcs with this group? A live stream event of the Clone Wars arcs with the group. What do you mean? Is it like what we're doing now? Oh, well, yeah, what do you mean? You mean like when we all watch it together? Because I do think there's a lot of great, going back and going through 5 seasons of Clone Wars would take a lot of time, and there's so many other new pieces of content coming out that I don't know that I would do it just like that, but I did think, wouldn't it be cool to hop around and go through key arcs? Is that what you're talking about? Because that's actually what I'm thinking about doing, and one of the many reasons I chose to start and look at the Overlords arc too. Oh, watch party. Oh, no problem. Please, no apology necessary, Mita, for sure. I don't, do they do watch parties? I don't think Disney Plus lets you do that anymore. So I'd have to do a little bit of digging about how to do that. But it does sound like a fun idea, I think. Does anybody else have any questions for me about this? I do want to say, I can't believe I didn't bring this up, but next week, next Tuesday night, which is when we normally do the live show, it's Halloween. And I would love to do the live show next week, but my son wants to go trick-or-treating. And I want to take him trick-or-treating. So next week, we're actually going to take the week off. So there will be no CWK Live next week because it is Halloween. I'll be a little bit of a mini time off, but that'll be fine. There'll still be normal Coffee with Kenobi next week. I didn't want to keep changing the days themselves. But next week, there will be no live show because it is Halloween. David says, Dan, when Anakin walks in and sits down in front of the Father, does it look like the World Between Worlds portals in the background? It does to me, a little bit. It's hard not to think of that same graphic, or even the little stone obelisk area that Ahsoka and Baylan Skoll fight on. It's all connected. Nobody knows how. I don't even know if Lucasfilm knows how. I mean, there's a lot of secrets, of course, and a lot of things going on, but I think it looks very similar to me. It really does look the same to me. And Jason says, agrees with you, David. He thought the same thing. Because I did too. When I watch, I'm like, well, that looks like a World Between Worlds. So what is the connection between Mortis and a World Between Worlds? I guess time will tell. Mary, have a great couple of weeks. Everyone be safe trick-or-treating. Thank you, Mary. Looking forward to pictures of you and Chaz going trick-or-treating. I hope all of you have a wonderful, safe, and fun Halloween. Halloween's fun. I always thought Halloween was fun as a kid, but then as I got older, I kind of fell out of enjoying it. And then Deanna is so good at celebrating the holidays with us that I got right back into the thick of it. Again, I'm very excited. And Jason David says, great minds think alike. There you go. Murray says, the symbol in the glass of the Father is the same symbol on Ilum when Ahsoka takes the young kings to get their kyber, young kids to get their kyber crystals. Ooh, good catch, Mary. Fabulous. Minta, may the force be with you. Jason, thank you so much. Great to see you again, my friend. Terry says, learned a lot tonight. Thanks, everyone. Terry, thank you. Thanks to all of you. Not only for joining me on the live show, especially with your busy schedules and pivoting and joining me on a different night, but for spreading the word about Coffee with Kenobi, for posting in the CWK Cafe, for listening, for subscribing, for following Coffee with Kenobi, for liking the show on Facebook and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Speaking of that, don't forget again, you only got less than 24 hours to sign up and win Chatterback Chopper. Sign up on coffeewithkenobi.com. I look forward to drawing a winner. Have a great one, everybody. Enjoy your week. Be safe, have fun, and I will see you very, very soon. This is Dan Zare reminding you that this is a live podcast you're looking for. Yes. Good journey, my friends. Good journey.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.